All right. That was almost half of Aralee Dorough's brand new video, which I believe will be live after this stream for a track called City of Smoke on her very, very, very excellent new CD, which I've fallen in love with. I'm going to pretend I know how to say this, so Aralee, correct me. Voyage of Blacwyd.
Yes.
Awesome. Aralee Dorough, thank you so much for joining and talking about this beautiful new CD of yours.
It's real.
It's real.
Seashell. The seashell.
Yeah, so on the cover, there is this digitally manipulated seashell, conch shell, and it's a double CD too, which is really gorgeous. Aralee, tell us about this release and how you ended up working with Marcus Reuter on it, and any significance in the art or the titles or the music. Just tell us the story.
Oh boy, where to start?
At the
What do you want to
beginning.
hear about first? Well, I've been working with Marcus. I met Marcus through a music camp, but and it's a camp you know about, and probably a lot of the viewers are probably people I know from this camp. It's called Three of a Perfect Pair, and we went there initially summer of, I think, 2016 with our son to check it out, and had such a fabulous time. I'm an orchestral musician, and so is my husband, Colin. So we went along as fans of King Crimson, but we were really just taking our son there. But we soon got involved and coaxed into playing our instruments in subsequent summers. And that first summer, there was something on the schedule saying morning warm-up on the lawn. Well, being a flutist, flutists love to do morning warm-ups on lawns, so I checked it out, even though 8 in the morning was a little bit early given the activities at this camp with, playing until midnight. And but Marcus was leading this musical warm-up, and it was so interesting. We were in a circle, we were doing things with our feet, stepping back and forth and trying to keep from rushing as we did different cross rhythms with clapping or doing things with our arms, and different things with the feet, arms. I just loved it. So right away I was really interested in Marcus's approach to music. And 2 years ago I contacted him about having him help me do an album, and I said I wanted to do original music, and that I did not have any original music yet. And I somehow knew he would be all right with the latter part of that, versus, well, why don't you, call me back when you have something. But at that point, we began composition lessons, and I was developing some ideas, some song-like, some, I know it's hard to describe. I have a piece in progress that will probably be for flute, the touch guitar, 2 percussionists, and piano. And anyway, we were meeting over Zoom and developing these ideas, and it didn't look like we could have the kind of recording session that we were planning for, where he would find some musicians to play my pieces and and sort of help bring them to life in a studio setting. So at that point, he suggested the what became this album. He said, "Why don't you improvise, do an album that's only flute, no band, no other instruments, and just improvise, and I'll create some drones using the flute sound, and it'll be, purely your playing. It'll be a great sort of coming out piece as a composer, improviser." And I loved the idea. It was a bit, astounding, but the more I thought about it, it was, obvious I was going to try it. And then we just talked about how we would do it, and there was no preparation in terms of musical material or rehearsal. It was all just sort of mentally preparing, talking about the process of recording, and then we did it. I think it was March 10th a year ago. We were right in this room. I was sitting over there. Our friend Bill Munyon came over from Austin. He set up a desk here with all his recording engineer equipment, and we had a live feed called Audio Movers to get the music across, and then he and Marcus were doing Zoom so that they could communicate, and then I was sitting over there with these headphones, and then I just started by playing what we call on the flute long tones, just single pitches. And after about a minute, I would start to hear the loops that Marcus was creating.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you saying that this whole album was sort of live composed?
Yeah.
Wow, that adds a whole other dimension to it, because this is an incredible work of art. I don't listen to a lot of music, which is ironic running a YouTube channel, but I have to say this is like the most breathtaking album I've heard in a long time. And for someone who's never composed to have a double CD as their first release, and for it to be so beautiful, so well executed, and improvised, that's really stunning.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was, we spent probably 6 hours, the recording session was 6 hours, and out of that we had 4 hours of music in 10 pieces, and the longest of those was, I think, 36 minutes, because I was primed to just keep playing, even, we talked about how sometimes it feels like, oh, we could end here, but if you keep improvising, maybe something else will happen. So I was, I made sure I didn't quit early. I had really good chops that day. I had, my main preparation was just making sure I was in good shape and had the endurance to keep playing. And
yeah, that's
anyway,
a long day.
Six pieces, or six, improvisations with the raw tracks, flute and loops, and Bill helped me download those onto my laptop so I could listen to them. That was actually the first time I heard them. I mean, I did a good job of not thinking too hard while playing. You know, I just listened, played, sometimes waited for a while, but you know, I tried not to judge. And our plan was to, like, we weren't going to think in terms of the finished product. We were just going to play and not worry about, like, oh, that was neat, but botched. Let's do it again. Like, none of that. It was just like a performance, but as much time. So the second phase began with taking those 10 pieces and considering each one as a piece, and trimming them at first, because they all had a long initiation.
Like a warm-up, basically?
Yeah, from a minute to, one of them, I think 10 minutes sounded like getting going, and material was being, you know, created. I mean, Marcus was using what I was playing in the texture, but we then, you know, made the beginning of the piece. We had to make those decisions. Like,
right.
I think it should start here and it should end.
All right,
Same
cool.
with the end. So
That's awesome. We're about halfway into the stream. I want to play another segment of music so people can hear. And we've had a whole bunch of people join now that the notifications have gone out that we're live. So please, everyone on the stream, we've got 36 people at least right now. Give this a good listen. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. We'd love to ask some questions of Aralee. We have a musical genius with us, so let's make the most of it. Aralee, do you have a track that you're particularly fond of that you want to share right now?
Oh boy, I love them all.
I'd love to hear that. How about Battle to Save the Sky?
Oh, great. That's
right.
A shorter one too.
Exactly. All right, let's listen to most of this, and then a little more talking, and then one final segment with music. That is just amazing. I mean, I say I could sit here and listen to it all day, but I already have done that.
Well, thanks so much. That's you can. That's a good example of you hear what I always thought of as looping. It's just things that repeat, and the vocal part is me saying, "I'll keep going." This was actually kind of the sound check. Was the first one we did, and there was a glitch with getting the Marcus's audio in my headphones, so I had stopped, and then even though we had talked at length how I was not going to stop and say oops, but I did stop, and then like, oh, keep going. Okay, I'll keep going. But Marcus was making such great sounds with whatever I played initially, including like sort of those beeping sounds.
Yeah.
But then I started playing beeping, imitating the beeps, and then my new beeps ended up in the loops too. And
well, I have to say, this is, I mentioned this in the chat, this to me is a modern day answer to Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois's Apollo soundtrack. Though there's nothing quite as active or happy as a couple of the more popular tracks. I can't remember their names right now, but there are a couple of tracks that are like really iconic and beautiful. I feel like there's that first track on Apollo that's very, just kind of dark, and I feel like this whole double CD brings that energy, and it doesn't let up, and it doesn't get boring. It's just it's a really immersive, experiential listen. We did get a couple of questions from the chat. First is from Sharon Baker, and she's asking, are there plans to, I think, take this material out on the road? Yeah, you and Marcus could do a really cool live show.
We haven't talked about that, about how to do it, but I'm sure it could be done. Given the time, the money, no.
Okay.
It's a nice low budget group, low personnel.
Yeah. And let's see, where's the other question? Oh, Jerry F., Club Weird member. Thank you, Jerry. And thank you, Aralee. I know you're a Club Weird member, too. I appreciate that. Jerry asks, could you tell us about the story that runs through the album?
Yeah, the story was sort of the final phase. There was the recording session, which I talked about, and then the editing and orchestrating, where we lavished hours of attention on these pieces after doing the basic editing, like cutting off some of the beginning and tightening up a few things, and we were adding some sounds and balancing and just fixing a few little mistakes, pops I didn't like, or slightly flat flute note. I mean, just a little bit of that. Anyway, we went over each piece in several, each piece got several hours, like several Zoom sessions. Then it was done in September, and then it was time to decide how to present it. And Marcus thought we should put it all out, and it would take 2 CDs. And I'd started to have this idea about the seashell, I think partly because I was worried people might, I was just thinking the listener would have to have patience, or it's sort of inward listening. So I was picturing what if, they had to pick up a shell and put it to their ear and listen, just be patient and wait and hear what would come out of the shell. And then, so I started like sketching things like that. That's my first seashell with like a Fender volume knob. Maybe the shell is an instrument, or I thought, or maybe it's not a shell, it's a flute you find on the ground and it's playing this music. Then I thought, shell is better. Then I had to buy myself a shell. The bizarre thing is when you listen to this shell, it's a D natural, and that happens to be the key of the first piece of the album, which is Call of the Waves. It's in the key of this. So from the shell, then I also, I don't know, I started to think visually, and I wanted to crowdsource a story, but I didn't know how to do that. I started kind of getting my own ideas about the story, and finally tried writing some different things, and then remembered something about the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. Looked it up, and it's now presented as sort of a template for any kind of writing, adventure movie, Star Wars, what happens to the hero. So I had, my hero is going to be Blacwyd, and then I thought, why am I picturing a male hero? She should be female. So that's where the spelling of Blacwyd came in, just to somehow hint that the hero is female, and to hopefully give a little, just to encourage people to visualize to the music if that's what they want to do. But I have no idea if people are enjoying that part of it, but it helped me. It took such a long time. I mean, it was frustrating because the music was completely finished mid-September, mastered, could have been out then, and I was dying to do that, to share it with people. But then I got, off on this tangent, and I didn't have a lot of work, solid work time. And then I got into taking photos for it, and it just seemed to take forever. But now that I, when I finished it, I feel satisfied with that part of it, and it has made me feel more, I don't know what the word is. I needed to do all of that to kind of, to tie together the music, even though I think the music is what's important, and I think it relates because of what it is and how we made it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun ultimately, like imagining the story and kind of using those other creative modes a little bit.
That's excellent.
I've never had an opportunity to do that, playing in an orchestra.
And did Bernhard do the cover? Is that what I remembered?
Yeah, using it's a photograph, again, of this clay shell, which you can see it's got a volume button, some lights, and input jack. And I took a lot of photos of this, and with purple light and smoke, and those all went into the mix.
Excellent. So we have a few more questions that I'd like to get through quickly, if you can. So shortest answer possible, so we can get through most of them and then wrap it up. But have you considered collaborating with a visual artist to create a video to accompany the music? Sharon Baker asks.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Contact me.
All right, cool. Yeah, if you're an artist and you want to work with Aralee, just find her on Instagram. The handle is here on the lower left side of the screen. Okay, so, dang it, I lost the questions. Okay, Ray Woods asks a two-pronged question. Who are your favorite classical composers? And do you like the Berlin School of Electronic Music like Tangerine Dream?
Favorite composers: Bartok, Stravinsky, Ravel, Debussy, Messiaen, Berg, Schoenberg. The weird ones.
The more modern weird ones.
I can be in club weird. But unfortunately, I haven't explored the Berlin school. I need to do more. I also don't listen enough lately. But yeah, I'd like to know more.
Okay. George John said, how do you buy the CD? He searched online on Amazon and has no luck. Is it on Bandcamp?
It's on Bandcamp. It's only on Bandcamp, which, yeah, I had never heard of Bandcamp before meeting people at TOEP camp. And they were talking about it, and I thought they were talking about marching band camp.
All right.
Summer before the school starts. So, but yeah, it's a great platform website that has lots of music. Doesn't have classical music, but more. Am I describing it correctly?
Well, I think a lot of the people on the stream know we get a lot of artists on Bandcamp, but essentially it allows artists to upload their music. Bandcamp takes a very small royalty. Emily Gwaltney just asked, why on Bandcamp? Well, I can tell you, just selling my book on Amazon, Amazon takes anywhere between 40 and 55% of your royalties. So Bandcamp, they take minimal 5-10% or something like that. So you
It's a musician-friendly
very musician-friendly
site, which enables fans and followers, like interaction with fans. If you have a favorite band there, you can buy their T-shirt. You can stream their music.
And then what's also cool is on Bandcamp you can listen to the album for free, the whole thing. I think 1, 2, or 3 times, something like that, if the artist allows it. But yeah, you can stream it up to 3 times. I think that's the default. And then after 3 times, it says, hey, you seem to like this, you should buy it, and it won't let you stream anymore. And when you do buy the physical or digital copies, you can stream forevermore for free. And you can, once you buy the physical, you can download the digital right away. So that's also really cool. All right, before we go, Aralee, can you show your touch guitar and your
sure.
your ergonomic flute?
The flute first. I love that you used the photo of me holding this.
Yeah, it looked like a weapon.
I don't play this on the CD. I rarely use it, but I've done some recordings of Mozart and Beethoven, primarily chamber music, using this, and I call that CD the ergonomic flute, because my friend Andy Drellinger, who passed away a year ago, this was his invention to see if it could be done to make a flute that you didn't have to turn your head, but you could play this way. And it works because it's mitered. It's not curved. It's actually just the same as this, so it sounds just the same as a regular flute. Then the other instrument, this is sort of part of the story of how I got to, became familiar with Marcus Reuter and started learning an instrument which he plays. He's a virtuoso.
He invented this instrument,
He's also a wonderful teacher, and I'm in a study group with about 40 other people studying with Marcus, where he's giving us weekly assignments. And I just saw, oops, I'm tangled. I saw this, the Chapman stick that Tony plays, and war guitars, and these at camp, and I was like, what is that? And I just thought, well, I'd like to learn some other instrument. I had played bass a tiny bit. I thought I could, but my son was playing bass at that point. And I just thought I would get this instrument. Oops. And you play it with both hands. It's called the touch guitar. And, I'm not performing on it yet, but I do hope to utilize it at some point to record. And it's full range. It has, goes as low as a bass instrument. And as a wind player, when we think about scales and modes and intervals, there's no visual logic to it, but on a fretboard there is, a half step, a whole step. So it's been very helpful just to have another, like, more spatial way to visualize notes. I did practice this a lot leading up to the recording, even though I wasn't going to be playing it, but it just strengthened my basic ear training, remembering the modes, because some of the pieces were strictly, that was the one limitation imposed, was that I would stay with a certain collection of pitches, mode. And that's something I also worked on in a class with Trey Gunn. He teaches ear training using solfege syllables. Anyway, it all goes together really well, like my learning to think in terms of frets. Think in solfege, think about modes the way Trey and other, I knew what the modes were, but I didn't know how to. I didn't
employ them as a sound on the spot.
Right, it's, the important thing is how they sound, not what they're called.
Right.
And
all right, well, we are running pretty long. So thank you to everyone who joined us for this stream, and thank you to everyone who purchased the album. We have the link in the lower right, araleedorough.bandcamp.com. That's where you can buy the digital copy of the album and the physical copy, which I highly recommend because it is beautiful. It's a double CD, and when you purchase the physical, you get the digital copy right away. So you can download it just like you did with the digital one. Aralee, thank you so much for joining as well.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you, Anthony, and to get to talk, and we have so much in common. I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this, just hit that like button. It helps it tells the algorithm that you enjoyed this and it's enjoyable content. And I don't monetize these live streams because I want as much of the revenue to go to the artist as possible. So when the copyright claim hits my video, the artist gets 100% of the revenue. Anyway, so yeah, please support this and other live stream videos that we do. Just hit that thumbs up button, and let's get more people listening to Aralee's incredible new album. And thank you to Marcus Reuter. Sorry he couldn't be here, but he did an incredible job on this album as well. And we do have some new live streams coming up. We have our next one, I think, is this Tuesday with Courtney Swain, the singer from Bent Knee. She has an excellent new album called Silver Lining. And then I believe next Friday, the 20th, I have two guitarists who made a new album. It's Kevin Castaning, who plays a 36-string contra guitar. It's like a big beefy guitar, and then another big beefy guitar on this custom-made carbon fiber body, which is really cool. And Mark Wingfield, who's done a lot of work on Leonardo Pavkovich's Moon June records and has made several albums with Marcus Reuter. So those two will be joining about their new ambient, strange, hard to listen to album. So please join us next week for the next couple of live streams. And finally, we do have this join button down below the video player, and it's if you click that, it brings up what's called Club Weird, and that's a $3 a month membership program to join Make Weird Music as a member and just help support us for $3 a month. It's a small thing, but it helps me to just be able to regularly pay for things that we use to make the site run, like the website and whatnot. So I appreciate all the people who are now members, and if you want to help support, it's less than a mid-sized Starbucks coffee per month, and I appreciate that. So we'll see you next week. Thank you, Aralee, again. Really appreciate you taking the time, and everyone, just check out the links in the lower corner. This is Aralee's Instagram, and this is Aralee's Bandcamp. Check it out, Voyage of Blacwyd. Thanks again, Aralee. We'll close on one piece of music.
All right.
Once I find it.
I wonder which one.
Cartage? However you say it.
Oh, my husband Colin plays oboe on that.
Oboe?
Was it an overdub?